Good evening. This is James Exum coming to you from my studio in South Austin, Texas. It's August the 18th at approximately 8:45 p.m. and I have an interesting short series for you this evening. We will be doing the introduction, which will be part one, and I've entitled this trilogy The Strategic Danger of Nuclear Threats, and this will be, as I said, part one, the intro. To me, it's a fascinating subject, and I try to give credit when I remember to. I'm not perfect. To every source that has contributed to my works. In this case, I don't know what program it was. I just know during the course of time I was listening to one of the political videos on YouTube, and someone mentioned the fact that the situation in the Middle East that's happening right now doesn't quite balance with what's happening in the area of North and South Korea. And I said, well, that's an interesting thought. And the gentleman was exactly right about it. So I went ahead and was inspired, and I expounded on it by writing an 18-page, very short, very truncated piece on the matter, which is a minor thesis, non-academic, non-degree associated thesis on the subject. And like I said, I titled it The Strategic Danger of Nuclear Threats. Well, I think that's enough said, and I probably left you a little bewildered by that mixture of poorly chosen words. So to clarify things, let's just jump right into it. Here's part one, The Strategic Danger of Nuclear Threats.
The Strategic Danger of Nuclear Threats. James H. Exum, Austin, Texas. August 18th, 2026. Copyrighted, all rights reserved. Abstract. This thesis argues that American nuclear policy loses moral force and strategic credibility when it treats emerging nuclear threats as urgent while treating existing hostile nuclear arsenals as permanent background conditions. The work uses Iran and North Korea as paired cases. Iran represents the danger of threshold capability, a state that may not openly possess nuclear weapons, but whose enrichment, verification disputes, and breakout potential raise serious proliferation concerns. North Korea represents the danger of normalized possession, a state that has already crossed the threshold and continues to expand nuclear weapons and missile systems capable of threatening regional allies and, increasingly, the United States. Written in a plain-spoken but rigorous voice, this thesis asks a simple question. If nuclear weapons in hostile hands are dangerous in principle, why should Washington become loud before the bomb exists and quieter after it does? The argument does not claim that Iran and North Korea are identical. They are different regimes in different regions with different histories, alliances, capabilities, and diplomatic openings. What the argument claims is that difference should not become an excuse for inconsistency. A hard problem is not a small problem. A realized threat is not less serious because it has become familiar. The thesis therefore develops a framework of strategic consistency built around three tests: capability, intent, and consequence. It maintains that Washington must apply those tests honestly to both Iran's nuclear trajectory and North Korea's nuclear reality. Chapter 1. Introduction and Statement of the Problem. The way I see it, The real problem is not only that hostile governments may get their hands on nuclear weapons. The deeper problem is that leaders in Washington sometimes appear to treat the danger as unbearable before one government has the bomb, yet manageable after another government already has it. That is the contradiction at the center of this thesis. If Iran's movement toward nuclear capability is a crisis, then North Korea's existing nuclear weapons and long-range missiles cannot be pushed to the back of the room. Truth has to be looked at with both eyes open. A serious nation cannot judge a nuclear threat by political convenience, nor by the friendship of involved heads of state. It has to judge it by capability, history of intentions, and the cost of being wrong. 1.1 The question this thesis asks. This thesis begins with a question that sounds simple but carries heavy consequences. Why does American policy seem most intense when a hostile state is approaching nuclear capability, yet more resigned once another hostile state has already crossed the line? The question matters because nuclear policy is not only about weapons, it is also about signals. Every sanction, speech, military exercise, negotiation, and silence tells other governments what Washington believes, what it fears, and what it may eventually accept. Iran and North Korea make the contradiction visible. Iran remains a central concern because enriched uranium at higher levels, reduced confidence in verification, and unresolved questions about future intent create a dangerous threshold problem. North Korea, however, is not a threshold case. It is an arsenal case. The Congressional Research Service reported in 2026 that North Korea's nuclear and missile forces are growing in size and sophistication, and that U.S. officials view them as increasingly capable of threatening the American homeland. The matter, then, is not whether Iran deserves attention. It does. The matter is whether North Korea deserves equal attention. It does. 1.2 The plain logic of nuclear danger. Nuclear weapons do not become less dangerous because people get used to hearing about them. Familiar danger is still danger. A cracked bridge does not become safe because drivers have crossed it for years. North Korea's arsenal may be familiar, but familiarity should not be confused with stability. Likewise, Iran's program may still be short of an openly tested weapon, but the distance between threshold capability and weaponization is precisely the space where prevention matters most. The logic of this thesis rests on three ideas. First, capability matters because a state that can deliver nuclear weapons can shape the choices of others before a shot is fired. Second, intent matters because weapons in the hands of regimes that define security through hostility and coercion create instability beyond their borders. Third, consequence matters because nuclear miscalculation is not a normal foreign policy mistake. It is a mistake that can burn cities, collapse alliances, and alter world history in one afternoon. 1.3 Iran as the threshold case. Iran's nuclear program illustrates the danger of reaching the edge without officially stepping over it. Public concern about Iran is not rooted only in fear or politics. It is rooted in the technical reality that enrichment levels, stockpile size, centrifuge capacity, and inspection access affect how quickly a state could move from nuclear latency toward weapons-grade material. The Institute for Science and International Security summarized 2026 IEA reporting as showing a serious verification problem, an inability to fully account for enriched uranium, and continuing compliance failures. That does not prove an assembled weapon, but it does show why the threshold itself is dangerous. In plain language, a threshold state is close enough to make everybody nervous, but not so far across the line that the world knows exactly what it is facing. That uncertainty can be useful to the state developing the capability. It can frighten neighbors, complicate diplomacy, and give the regime leverage. The regime leverage while still allowing it to deny that it seeks a bomb. It is like standing with one foot inside the doorway and one foot outside, insisting that no line has been crossed while making sure everyone sees how close the foot is to moving. The regional picture is further complicated by the fact that Israel, Iran's attacking neighbor, is widely believed to possess nuclear weapons while maintaining a long-standing posture of nuclear opacity, an open secret that sharpens accusations of double standards in Middle Eastern non-proliferation debates. 1.4 North Korea as the realized threat. North Korea shows what happens when the threshold is crossed and the world slowly adjusts to the new reality. Over time, the shocking becomes routine. The emergency becomes a file on a desk. Yet North Korea's nuclear problem has not faded. According to the Congressional Research Service, North Korea has advanced nuclear warheads and missile systems, rejected denuclearization negotiations, and treats nuclear weapons as central to regime survival. In 2026, CRS reported that North Korea was committed to expanding strategic weapons, including missiles and nuclear warheads, in order to solidify deterrent capability. That is why North Korea cannot be treated as a solved problem merely because it is an aging problem. The longer a nuclear arsenal exists, the more institutions form around it, the more doctrine develops to justify it, and the more difficult the path back becomes. If Iran is the spark, North Korea is the fire that has already taken hold. Wisdom requires noticing both. 1.4.1 Carrier repositioning and the Pacific security map. A recent carrier movement makes this problem more concrete. Public reporting states that the USS George Washington, the Navy's only forward deployed aircraft carrier based in Japan, is moving from the Western Pacific toward the Middle East to relieve the long-deployed USS Abraham Lincoln. That move may ease pressure on the Lincoln's crew and keep American power concentrated near Iran, but it also changes the security map in East Asia. For a period of time, the waters nearest China, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, and North Korea may have no American aircraft carrier permanently present in the Western Pacific. That does not mean the United States has no power there. It still has submarines, air bases, destroyers, marines, bombers, intelligence assets, and treaty allies. But a carrier is not just a ship. It is a visible signal of reach, speed, and political will. For Taiwan, the absence of a carrier does not by itself invite invasion, but it can affect the atmosphere of deterrence. Beijing can use the gap as a political message, telling countries in the region that Washington is distracted and that American protection is less certain than it sounds. That matters because security in the Taiwan Strait is built not only on weapons already in place, but also on belief. The belief that the United States can respond quickly, the belief that allies will not be left exposed, and the belief that aggression will meet organized resistance. When a carrier leaves the Pacific to answer a Middle Eastern crisis, the map changes from a map of layered reassurance to a map with a visible opening. North Korea also benefits from that opening, even if indirectly. Pyongyang does not need the United States to abandon South Korea or Japan in order to gain advantage. It only needs moments where American attention appears divided, where regional allies wonder what would happen in a sudden crisis, and where hostile regimes can test boundaries without immediately facing the strongest symbol of American naval power nearby. The carrier's movement therefore strengthens the central concern of this thesis. When Washington concentrates on one nuclear danger while another nuclear danger sits closer to Allied capitals, it risks teaching adversaries that endurance and distraction can become strategic weapons. North Korea's advantage is not that America disappears from the Pacific. It is that America's visible weight shifts elsewhere at the very moment when credibility is supposed to be firm.
And there's the end of video 1 in this 3-part series on the strategic danger of nuclear threats. Sorry about all the mechanical and technical problems during the filming of that particular section, that introductory section. I am an old man, about to turn 76, and I do suffer from a Parkinsonian disease that affects my voice box and my ambulation, and also occasionally my hands and my arms. So anytime I'm dealing with something mechanical, I'm prone to pushing the wrong button or pausing in the wrong spot. But that's my problem, not yours. I hope you enjoyed. If you're a student of history and you're a student of war, and which is a horrible thing to be a student of, but some of us are, because our fathers served in wars, and our grandfathers, and all the way back in my family, all the way back to the Revolutionary War. But that's neither here nor there. I also served during the Vietnam War. I am a veteran, but I did not serve overseas. I served strictly here in Austin as the trainer in the hospital squadron, the 67th Air Wing Command at Bergstrom. Enjoyed it and got out, and I've been living in Austin except for short stints out of town for business purposes ever since. From 1970 to the year we're in now, which is of course 2026. I've been here 56 years as an adult. Well, again, I'm going off path. Sorry about that. This will be followed I'm not going to do it tonight. I'm getting a little tired. This probably will be followed tomorrow morning with the second in the series, part 2, so to speak, on the same subject. And then I'll probably, if I'm feeling good enough, well enough, I'll record the rest of these tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening. So tell your friends and family if you enjoyed this. If you didn't, that's okay too. And I appreciate your interest and your viewing time and your patience, and your patience definitely. And thank you so much for dropping by. And I hope you can catch the next video. Good night to you. And again, thank you.